2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of you. So let's begin. And let's begin by me saying hello, good afternoon, good morning from this side of the world. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our second day in our Biotrade Webinar Series. Today, we are going to be exploring, we have a very, very deep fondness of, because these are the tools that that brought me to Geneva all of 15 years ago, almost. I joined ITC to work on doing the work that Adam and Sam are doing with us nowadays. At that time, 15 years ago, we did have to travel. There was no webinars, but I'm particularly fond of these tools. So I will, before I just shut up and let the real hosts and the real stars of today take the floor, let me just introduce to you Ms. Sam Iman and Mr. Adam Adu. Both of them work with the people in ITC, with a team in ITC that creates and manages the market analysis tools, which we will be being introduced to today. So they won't say it because they're too modest, but I will say it. The market analysis tools that we're about to see today are, in my opinion, the two most powerful, or the most powerful. I don't know how many we're going to see today, but these are the most powerful trade flow analysis tools in the world. And they are the best market access conditions tools in the world. So if you want to know anything about trade flows, if you want to know anything about market access conditions, these are the go-to tools. And with this, I will shut up and let Adam take it from here. So Adam, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Miguel, for your amazing introduction and for putting such interest in our tools. So as you said, my name is Adam Adu, working at the Trade and Market Intelligence section with my colleague Sam in here. And today we're gonna explore more in depth a little bit like the ITC series of market analysis tools. So we're gonna see 4 different tools, the trade map tool, export potential map tool, EPING, and also market access map tool. So we're gonna go through those 4 tools, different one, step by step, knowing like a little bit checking what are the basics analysis you can do with those tools, and maybe it will give you maybe you will be more eager to go more in depth with those tools in the future, using them in your daily live dealing operations. So let's see. So I'm gonna share my screen right now, or I can let maybe Sam introduce herself quickly, if sure.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pichaya Sam Emon, and I work with Adam at the International Trade Center in Geneva, a former colleague of Miguel at the Trade and Market Intelligence section as well. So normally I oversee capacity building on our tools, and I'm very happy to be here today. What will happen is that you will submit your questions to the chat box, and I will answer it while I'm doing the presentation. Also, the session will be recorded. I mean, it is being recorded right now so that we can share the link to the recording. We will upload it to YouTube, and you can consult it later on and share with your colleagues if necessary. Okay, so thank you very much. Let's continue.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so let's go to basics concepts first before starting to see more in depth the ITC market analysis tools. So what will be a key concept during this session today is the use of the harmonized system product classification, so HS codes. So to go and to navigate into the different ITC market analysis tools, you will need to use those HS codes, which are really clue and like important in order to identify the product you want to explore, you want to analyze. And with those codes, it's gonna be like really easier to navigate through the tools. So how it works, basically, maybe I guess most of you know a little bit about this at least. each product is classified according to a chapter. So those chapters are, like, say, the broadest parts of the classification. So you will see like very similar product clustered into different groups. If we take this example, is the example of products such as coffee, tea, all the kind of things you can put in the water, something like this, like for drinks. Then you will have headings. This is a little bit more accurate. You will separate different types of product within the group. And what we call, what we look at in general are HS6 level, is HS6 level, which correspond to the subheadings. In this, you will have like a more specific part of the product. So if we go to T, for instance, in this example, which is 0902 in the heading, you will have different types of tea, which are, for instance, green tea, black tea, or like a very specific black tea. And then something that we don't really use, but is still, we know that it exists and that you can check if you want on the different website, is the national tariff lines. So with this, we're going even more specific regarding the product. So if we take the example of green tea, maybe in the different countries of Asian agreement, for instance, in each country, there might be some very specific variety of green tea, and this can be captured with the national tariff lines. But just one important thing to keep in mind, on the different ITC market analysis tools, we do not really use the regional tariff line. In some agreement, you might have maybe like the existence of regional tariff line codes, which are used within the agreement for with all the countries for specific product, and we don't really capture this in the different ITC market analysis tools. Today, we basically, all the exploration we're gonna do will be based on the subheading, so HS6 level. So here is the continuity of the example I showed before. With coffee, we're going through the chapter, then subchapter tea, and we're going more specific with just HS6 code, which is the subheading with green tea. And you can see that for the different countries, China, Japan, or the US, for instance, they all have national tariff line corresponding to a very specific part of this product and specificities. So now what's important to see is, why do we need those market analysis tools, and how can you use them? What is the, let's say, the scope of those tools, like in your market analysis? So if you're interested in knowing like which market is attractive for exporting your product, which product your country or your specific company should specialize in based on the different market advantages, or the comparative advantages it has in terms of tariffs, in terms of access, etc., you can use those tools. If you also want to get more information regarding market access requirements when exporting a certain product to specific countries, or maybe to a group of countries, those will be again the tools you can look at. And as Miguel said, really with those 3 or 4 even ITC markets analysis tool, you will be able to really build a very nice analysis, market analysis regarding your product, having information regarding access to countries when exporting your product, also access when importing your product. You will be also able to see some consumer trends in the importing country, find some clients using trademark, for instance, etc. So this is the scope of the market analysis tools that we're gonna see more in depth today. Okay. So just to introduce them one by one before going to each of them more particularly. So the first one we're going to see today is the export potential map, which is part of the ITC suite of market analysis tools. So with this tool, basically, you will be able to export export opportunities for your products. So check the potential of a specific product for a specific country. If, for instance, I'm a country A and I want to know what are the main product that my country has a lot of potential in and should specialize in, I can look at the export potential map. Also, if I'm a company and I want to diversify and I don't know with which product I can diversify my activity, I can use the export potential map and to look at the different, let's say that leads that I can take in terms of product to diversify. So on this, you will have different indicators that will help you, guide you in order to diversify or to find new opportunities in maybe market you haven't thought about before, but where you can have a lot of potential in terms of export. The second one we're gonna see is more in order to do like really accurate market analysis. You can use trade map, where you will be able to analyze trade flow, and you will have at your disposal a set of trade indicators that will give you a hint about how is it going on the destination market, how is your country performing with a specific product or even in a specific sector. And this is based on the world's largest trade flow databases. And all those applications are somehow complementary and linked. The last one we're gonna see is market access map. So those three are part of the ITC suite of market analysis tools. With market access map, after checking the potential with export potential map, after building this market analysis, looking at the different trade indicator, with the market access map, you will be able now to look for information regarding the access to the destination country you're targeting finally for your product. So you will have information regarding tariffs, you will have information regarding export requirement and import requirement, and you will even be able to look at the different trade agreements you can benefit from when exporting your product or when importing a specific product. So on this slide, I didn't mention maybe the very last one that we're gonna look at, which is a tool developed by ITC, but also the WTO, which is EPING. And EPING is also complementary with those three, because thanks to EPING, you'll be able to keep a track on export requirement measure, specifically SPS measure and TBT measure, so sanitary phytosanitary measure and technical barrier to trade. All those measures you will be able to keep in track with the regulatory changes that happens during the year. And with this, you will have notification regarding what's happening for a product of your interest. So now let's focus on one of those two first. Let's take them one by one. So the first one, export potential map. So as I said, with export potential map, you will be able to identify product, market and supplier with the highest export potential. So this is basically the tool you will use in order to spot opportunities on different markets regarding a specific product and discover what is the potential of your country, how your country could perform at the maximum, at its best for a specific product, for a given product that you find out that has a lot of potential. But also it will give you some hints about the possibilities of diversification. So it will help you to identify other products with favorable chances of export success in different regions of the world. So let's say if you're specialized, if the specific company specializes in exporting tea, and you realize that your country has also potential for coffee, with the export potential map, you will be able to have a projection of what is the potential of your country and how your country could perform at its best in an horizon of like 5 years for the specific product. So you can have access to this website using exportpotential.interesting.org, and you will be able to use the tools there. So before starting the demo with the tool, let's just look at the key characteristic of export potential map. So I would introduce for each of those tools the key characteristic in order to give you a little bit of background regarding the tools and know what does the tool cover before going to the demo. So basically, export potential map lies a lot on a methodology, which use 2 different indicators and an economic model based on trade, on tariff, GDP, and geographic data. It covers more than 226 countries and territory and more than 4,000 products. And product are grouped, for some product, they are grouped into 6 digits level of our harmonized system classification. And the export potential map is finally a tool that a lot of different types of institution, of actors can use, like trade advisor, policymaker, it can be companies, it can be experts, can be universities, and everything. I just mentioned before that for the specific case of export potential map, as you know, when you use the harmonized system classification, a lot of products, sometimes the position in the harmonized system classification is updated. So in order to solve this issue, because some position might change with time, in order to solve this issue, the export potential map team has developed a methodology where for some specific product, they're grouped into a group of product. So you will have like the 4 first digits of the product, and then you will have like 2 specific letters that show you that this product is grouped with other. Like we have the example here of salmon, and as we know, maybe there are a lot of different varieties of salmon, and the position can change during the time. So what the team has done is just like grouping different types of salmon within one specific HS6 code for export potential map. And with that, with the change of the harmonized system classification, it will not really change it in the website. So it will still be very easy to use the tool. So as you can see, more than 4,000 products are merged. And you can also look at the different products within the sector or subsector. So compare different subsectors in terms of potential for specific country. So let's dig a little bit into the methodology. So here you have basically the formula behind the EPI. So what we call EPI is the export potential indicator. This is the indicator that will give you basically the potential for a specific product exported to a specific market, or even the potential for a sector or a subsector. This potential is computed based on 3 different very important components. So it takes into account the supply component, which include market share, the growth of supply, tariff condition. It takes also into account the demand and the ease of doing trade. So those 3 parameters are important in the analysis of, in the building of this export potential indicator, and those are key parameters taken into account to compute the EPI. So you have the formula in here. Now, the key concept, let's say like the room for improvement when we're talking about the EPI, like the main value added is this concept of unrealized potential. So what is the unrealized potential? The unrealized potential is the difference between the actual export of a country for a specific product or a sector or subsector, and what at its most the country can do in terms of export. So its maximum potential, which is compute. So the gap between both is the unrealized potential. So it's basically the room for improvement. What the country can do best in terms of export, if it solves the problem of market access, if it solves the problem of non-tariff measure, maybe if it increases transparency in terms of information, all those types of friction are the ones that can, if they're solved, that will enable you to reach your full potential, enable the country to reach its full potential. This is still theoretically speaking, but it gives you like a good hint of how much your country can improve itself in terms of exporting a specific product or product belonging to a specific sector or subsector. So this is what we call the room for the action. If you have to take into mind what is unrealized potential, is room for action. Now, let's maybe show a demo, which will be like interesting. It's good to know what is the tool about, but it's even better to know how to use it. So let me show you. So going on exportpotential.interested.org, you will find these pages basically. where you will have different modules here that you can see on the tabs here. And you have here the tab which link you to all the ITC market analysis tools. But now let's just focus on this one. So what you can see on the screen here, so you have the explanation of what is export potential map in general, what does it cover, who developed it and how. And you have here 3 different very important modules. So the first one, we show you for a specific country that you can write in here, the different products where the country has important important export potential. So those will be ranked from the highest to the lowest one. For the second one, you will have the ranking of all the destination country for specific market, rank from the one with the highest potential for your country to the one with the lowest potential. So here will be market, first one will be for product, and the last one will be to look at the different possibilities you have in terms of export diversification. So model 1, look at the different products, so rank from the highest potentials to the lowest one. Module 2, look at the different markets from the country with the highest potential for your export to the country with the lowest one. And the last one hints about diversification. But what's key for your research is this toolbar that we can see here. So let's take a look at one country, for instance. So you see here that you have the choice between looking at the potential for a specific product, a subsector or a sector, or look at the potential for a country, sub-region or region. Maybe let's do it step by step and start looking at a specific country. For instance, let's take the example of Thailand. So it's here, yeah. And let's go. So first information that you have, it's for all the product that Thailand is exporting. This is the untapped export potential. So this is what at its best, if everything somehow was solved in terms of market access, if Thailand was doing its best, this would be what Thailand could reach in terms of export in value. So $155 billion in total. This would be this is a projection, of what Thailand would be able to do based on this possibility, based on the agreement, the trade agreement can benefit from, based on its export possibilities, production capacities, and etc. So we can look at one of the 2 different modules here. Let's take a look at the product first. So by clicking on this module, I will have the list, as you can see, of all the product ranked from the one with the highest export potential to the one with the lowest one that Thailand can export in the world. So this is not from Thailand to a specific country, but this is Thailand to the world in general. So as you can see, the first one, computer data storage units, if it's the first one here, it's because it's the one where Thailand has the biggest export potential. So you have 2 different types of visualization. The first one is the one showing you the list of products, and you have here in blue, it's what Thailand, in dark blue is what Thailand is actually performing in terms of export value for this product. And here in light blue is finally the untapped potential of Thailand for computer data storage units. So you see here a percentage, as this percentage corresponds to the actual export regarding the full export potential of Thailand. So let's say that for now, Thailand is exploiting, let's say 67% of its full potential for now. But there is still, if you could look at this, there is still 33% that of potential that is not exploited by Thailand, that it's not used by Thailand. So there is still room for improvement. Here you have a toolbar in order to look at a specific product of your interest. So I decided to look at ginger, for instance. So you have the choice between writing the name of the specific product or writing the HS code. As I know, the HS code is 091011 for ginger. And we discussed this during the beginning of my presentation. Some products are grouped. This is why for ginger, you see the first 4 digits of the HS code and 2 letters at the end, because different variety of ginger have been grouped into one category to easy a little bit the way of searching, also avoid the problem regarding a harmonized system update. So looking at ginger, you will see that ginger will appear in here, the potential in ginger at the end. So if you click on this, you see the export potential of ginger from Thailand to the world, which is $128 million. And Thailand is for now exporting for $67 million. So there is an untapped potential of $84 million for ginger to the world. So this untapped potential, if you understood, corresponds to the difference between the full potential reachable by Thailand, so the export potential, and the actual export of Thailand. So the room for improvement. So from here, we can go to another type of view, the view on markets. So if I click on this, it will rank basically the different markets from the one with the highest potential when Thailand is exporting ginger to the one with the lowest one. But this is a top 20 basically, but there are other countries, but to ease the visualization, it shows you the top 20. So what you can see here is that United States is the country where Thailand has the biggest export potential when exporting ginger. If you click on this, you see that Thailand has an export potential of $16 million when exporting ginger to United States. And so how is it constructed? How is it built visually? So visually what you see, let's say like the white circle you see at the beginning of the stock bar corresponds to the actual export. So if you look at the different position of the different white circles here, the one which are close to the right are the biggest one, and the one close to the left, the ellipses, are the lowest one. So here you see that United States, for actual export, Thailand is exporting more to United States than to Netherlands or than to Bangladesh, but less than to Pakistan. But Thailand has the biggest export potential when exporting to Netherlands than when exporting to Bangladesh, even though it actually exports more to Bangladesh than Netherlands, because Bangladesh here actually export 2.3 million, whereas for Netherlands it's 1.3, but the export potential is higher when exporting ginger to Netherlands than to Bangladesh. So this is how you can read that. And what you have, like the whole stock bar you have till the very dark point at the end correspond to the untapped potential. So what you have at the end is where is the export, the full export potential reachable, and the way, let's say the way from the white circle to the end of the bar correspond to the untapped potential. So the longest is the stock bar, the longest is the untapped potential for a country. But then you will tell me, yes, but Adam, why is it like this for Pakistan? That might be your question. Why it's a discontinuous stock bar and it's not like for United States, the Netherlands, or Bangladesh? Because in the specific case of Thailand, when exporting to Pakistan, Thailand has a higher actual export than the expected export potential. So you will ask me, like, how is it possible? There are some explanation to this. When we have such a situation, it means that maybe Thailand it's not using its potential in other countries, and instead of exporting to those other countries, Thailand is focusing all this production to export to Pakistan. So it's kind of over exporting to Pakistan compared to the other country where it has higher potential maybe. So Thailand is not exploiting its potential when exporting to other countries, and only export of focus is its export to Pakistan. This is why it outreach the export potential. But on export potential map, we will never show you a negative untapped potential because it's not possible. But what we can show you is actual export, the export potential, and we can, in the specific case of Pakistan, see if the country is overperforming even. And this overperformance is not because there is only Pakistan as an exporter, as a destination market. It's maybe because there are some problems when accessing the other markets where Thailand has possibilities in terms of potential for ginger. So maybe holds this potential which is not exploited when exporting to the United States or Netherlands or Bangladesh. It is reported to Pakistan because Pakistan is easier when exporting. Last thing I can show you is C-Sports, where you have a visualization showing you, so ranking all the countries with the highest export potential for Thailand when it's exporting ginger, and you will have several elements here. So the first element you will see is the demand. So the circle corresponds to the demand on the destination market for the specific product exported by Thailand. Then you will have the bar. The thickest is the bar, the easiest is the trade with the country of destination. So as you can see, with Pakistan or Malaysia, it's easier than with Netherlands because the bar is thicker. So this is what you can see. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, this is what you can see on the screen in here. And then coming back on my explanation before, you can also take a look at the different competitors you have for the specific product when exporting to one of those destination countries. For instance, the United States here. If you click on the stack bar and you go to exporter, you will see all your competitors on this market for the specific product. So here, when exporting ginger, you see that the main competitors of Thailand is China, which has also a huge export potential when exporting ginger to the United States. You have also India, Thailand, Brazil, Nigeria, etc. Okay, and last thing I can show you for export potential is this module on product diversification, where export potential map, maybe I can, yeah. Let me just, yeah. Let me just go back here. Yeah. Here, if you look at Thailand, for instance, and you go to this product, and you want to see the diversification. So what are the possibilities of diversification of Thailand when exporting product? You click on this, and you see the different product for which Thailand has possibilities in terms of export potential. So if you're not exporting ginger and you think other product can be interesting, you will find them here. And when you look at this, the circle is still represent the demand for your product. Then here, let's say the bar does not represent anymore the ease of trade here, but when we talk about export diversification, it represents the supply. So let's say the competitors there are for your product or your possibilities. So those are the key concepts you can have in mind when talking about export potential map. Let's take maybe some time to discuss the other tools right now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Sam, are there any questions?
Yes, Adam. So if you could please go back to Thailand export potential in ginger. I would like to take the opportunities to address Nan Susan's questions regarding the dotted line and the direction of the button. For example, if once we get to what we call the gap chart for ginger, you will see that we see the top 20 countries. Now we have the top 51, but we can obviously reduce that to top 20 countries. And there are two types of the line. You will see that there's a solid line, like for United States, Netherlands, Bangladesh, right? Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. This is the solid line. This is because the button, okay, is the current export, and at the end of the line is the potential export. There's a gap. That's what we call the untapped potential. However, for countries like Japan, Pakistan, New Zealand, and these are the countries with dotted line. It's dotted line because the country has already exceeded the export potential in those markets. Don't forget that the export potential in this particular tool is a benchmark. So when a country already exceeded, like Adam said, we will never show the negative value. We will just show that at this point, the export potential has been exceeded. And this could be due to what Adam has mentioned, that Thailand has focused too much on countries like Pakistan, whereas there are other countries that it still has export potential, untapped export potential, like United States, Netherlands, Bangladesh. So this is just to address the Nan Susan's question. And as I don't see any additional questions, perhaps we can continue to the next tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and do not hesitate for participants if there are other questions to bring them to me.
Yep. Yes, can I have a quick one?
Yes.
Yes, I can have, very interesting that you said already the trade already exceeded in Pakistan. So why is that? Why is Thailand, they still focusing export to Pakistan?
Okay, for your question, this is very interesting. And I think this is something we're gonna also explore looking at the other tools, because those other tools might give us an answer why Thailand is exporting more to Pakistan than to the other countries. So I will keep this question as, let's say, that's one of the key questions for the whole presentation, and we will answer it step by step, right? Okay, last thing about export potential map, we have like a module on services, which is currently developed now and which works the same way as for goods. What you have to keep in mind really is this notion of export potential, this notion of untapped export potential, which is the difference between actual export and the full export potential. Now let's look at the second ITC tools. So after spotting the different opportunities for a specific product exported to a specific country, we can maybe build our analysis more in depth, looking at the different trade indicators that exist in order to maybe analyze the reason why you should select a specific market compared to another one. So those reasons can be the market share that you have there, can be the performance of your country in this specific destination market. So let's look at trade map. Okay, so with trade map, you will be able to analyze global trade flow, basically both for export and import, and you have different modules for product and services. You will still be using HS codes in order to navigate within the tool and look at the different information, search for the different information you're interested in. So it's still part of the market analysis series of tools, and it's based on the largest trade flow database in the world with different sources that we're gonna mention after. So why using trade map? With trade map, you will be able to answer several kinds of questions you might have in mind when it comes to export strategy. For instance, you will be able to identify the level of the global market demand for a specific product. You will be able to compare different destination market between themselves in terms of, after looking at the potential with export potential, we'll also be looking at which market has the demand with the best growth, let's say that, growth rate. So which one in the future would be more interesting than the other? Or you can be able to identify the trends between different markets for your specific product. You will be also able to identify which are your competitors with other exporting countries for the specific product, but also which are the different destination markets you can reach, which are the different markets which are importing exactly the product that you're interested in. So those are the key things you will be able to do with TradeMap. And there is also a model on companies where you will be able to find out some clients maybe for your product, but you will also be able on the supply chain to identify some suppliers for maybe the inputs you need if your product is, for instance, a processed product like processed foods, for instance. Key characteristic of TradeMap. So as of export potential map, let's see the key characteristics. So TradeMap is covering more than 220 countries and territories. So we have data coming from reporting countries and some data computed thanks to reporting countries for the specific non-reporting countries. So this is the difference between direct data we collect, and mirror data, something we're gonna see later. The product coverage is even bigger than for export potential map. So we cover more than 5,300 products, still at the 6-digit level. So if you remember, it's at the subheading level, so which is still detailed, but we also have details regarding national tariff lines. And the two main sources for the data in TradeMap are the data coming from national authorities. So the TradeMap team is basically collecting data from the national authorities that send every year or every quarter, depending on the types of data. They will send data regarding their export activity, import activity, data regarding trade. And the second source is UN COP trade. So those data are basically produced by the United Nations Statistics Division. So regarding data update that I just mentioned before, so during the whole year, we have like updates about HS6 level data regarding products, so monthly and quarterly. And 4 times a year, so let's say quarterly, you will have updates on indicators. So the main indicators are based on the data we collect, update on data on trading services and on tariffs. But for tariffs, you can also go to a market access map, which we're gonna see after. So what is very important to keep in mind when it comes to TradeMap is that you have 2 different types of data in general. So the first one are direct data. So those data are the data we collect from national authorities and that ITC collect or UN trade collect. So those data are directly reported by countries. And for specific countries that do not report the data, we have what we call mirror data. So if one country is reporting its trade activity, this bilateral trade activity regarding another country, we will use those data in order to estimate the export and import of this country we do not have the data from. So that's what we call mirror data. And we have a code of color in the ITC data table, the TradeMap data tables that you're gonna see after, in order to identify which data are direct data and which data are mirror data. So here is, let's say, like a representation of how it works. So if Australia, for instance, is a reporting country and Iran do not report data regarding trade, but we have the export data of Australia to Iran, and also we have the value of imports from Iran to Australia. We will be able, ITC will be able to estimate what are the exportation in value of Iran and what are the imports as well. So based on the reporting country, we will be able to estimate the trade of the non-reporting countries. But if 2 countries are not reporting their trade, their bilateral trade, then we won't be able to get the data at all. And this is the case, for instance, if you take Iran with Myanmar specifically, if we do not have data from both of them, we won't be able to display any data. And in such case, in the table, it will be, you will have 0, like it will be null, significating that we don't have data for this specific product. And you will also see that the color is different for such data. Talking about the color, here is the code of color in trade map data. So first thing to keep in mind, all the data in purple are word aggregation. So it takes into account data from reporting country and non-reporting country, and we aggregate the trade for the whole world based on the data we have. And this is displayed in purple in general in our tables. So it's aggregation of reporting and non-reporting countries. Then in red, when you have data on export and export, we will be able to compute the negative trade balance. So if the balance is negative, you will have the data in red. It means that the country is importing more a product than exporting this product. So you have a negative trade balance. And if it's the opposite, then the data will be displayed in blue, in dark blue, as you can see. It means you have a positive trade balance. So you have a trade exceeding. Then, as I said, in yellow, you can see the mirror data. It means that here for Kenya, for the black tea imported by Kenya, we maybe don't have like the data coming directly from Kenya for tea. So we compute the import value of Kenya based on what the partner of Kenya, so basically the exporters to Kenya, are reporting in terms of data, in terms of export value of the black tea exporting to Kenya. So based on this, we were able to compute what are the total imports for black tea of Kenya. Then you will have two other different color in green. So light green will be the quantity estimated by the United Nations Statistics Division, and in dark green, you will have the data estimated by ITC. So here it is for the color code. One important thing, so maybe it wasn't that important for export potential map, but maybe for the other tools such as mark map and trade map, you will have to register on the website in order to benefit fully from the tools. And the registration is for free for a lot of different countries, in general developing countries, but also EU countries in general. So you will have a list of the different countries which can benefit from this free access to TradeMap. And having an account on TradeMap will enable you to use the same account on all the ITC market analysis tools. So once you have an account with one, you don't have to register for a second time for the others. You can use the same account. And with this, you will be able to even create group of product, create group of countries. So maybe access to very specific features of the tools. So on TradeMap, what you're gonna see displayed in general in the table, you will be able to look at trade indicator to base your analysis. So you have 4 types of trade indicators. You have the one for market size, the one for market growth, performance indicator, and some additional indicator. We're gonna see more in depth during the demo. We still have, regarding the methodological issues, there is still some indicator that is missing, not computed for a specific product because we don't have enough data. So in such case, we're not computing the trade indicators because their meaning will be a little bit biased because we do not have the data for those specific products. So if we don't have like a 5 years, let's say, good data for a country, we won't compute those trade indicators. And when data are not reported for specific products, then we run to 0 those data. Also, when the value exported or imported of a specific product is under 500, we run it to 0. TradeMap is also a fantastic tool when it comes to trading services. So you will be able to see like export value based on the balance of payment and import value for the 12 categories of services. According to the balance of payments or transport, travel, construction, etc. Now let's take a look at the demo. So let's keep the same example. Ginger, exporting from Thailand to Netherlands. So we have the HS code, which is 091011, and let's take a look at it now. Okay. So in here, you can choose between, basically you can choose between services and goods. So this is the part you will use if you wanna take a look at the data for services and here for goods. Then other important choice, are you looking at the import side or the export side? Sorry. Those features are very important. Still, you should keep in mind that when you launch your research, take a look at those two in order to see what are you really researching. But there is another way to check if you made the right research after that. So here I'm looking at Ginger. So if I remember, it was 09, 10, 11, HS6. If you don't know what is the HS code of your product, you can go to advanced search here, clicking here, and you will be able to write keywords in order to identify what is the HS code corresponding to your product. So in here, I'm interested in Ginger from Thailand. Look, let's see, before going to Thailand, who are the exporters of ginger in the world? What are the competitors of Thailand? Who are them? So then you have the choice between looking at trade indicators. So here you will be able to compute your market analysis. You have the choice between yearly time series, where you will see through the time, the evolution of export or import for your specific product. Or if you want to have like maybe seasonality, you can look at quarterly time series or monthly time series. And the last one, you're going to take a look at it. Companies module is just to take a look at who are the clients or who are the supplier for this specific product in the world. So as I said, what's always very important when you launch your research is to look at the title of the research. This is key in order to see if you're doing the right analysis and if you launch the right research. Here, what I can read is that what I'm looking for is the list of exporters of ginger, which is a product below. Then for the year 2020, which is the last year available for this specific product. And you have the code to make sure this is the product you really wanted to look at. So who are the competitors? We already know that Thailand is exporting ginger. Who are the countries which are exporting the most ginger? So in terms of, you will have first, in the first column, the value exported. So all the countries in here, you have like a top 25. They will be ranked from the country exporting the most ginger to the list, right? But you have several pages. So France is not the one exporting the ginger, but in the top is like the 25th countries in terms of ranking exporting ginger to the world. The first one is China. So let's say the top, Thailand is part of the top 5 exporters of ginger from what you can see, because here are the exports from the world in purple, aggregation of reporting and non-reporting countries in value, US 1,000. And you have market by market ranked from the top one to the last one. Those exporting ginger in value. So you have China, Netherlands, Peru, Thailand, which is the 5th one in the ranking. So those are the main competitors. You will see then the trade balance. So as we said, when it's red, then it means that, for instance, Spain is a net importer of ginger. It means that Spain imports more ginger than it actually exports ginger. And when it's blue, you're a net exporter of ginger. It means that for Thailand is a net exporter of ginger. So it's exporting more ginger than it's importing, sorry. Then you will have the same, the value in quantity, the metric, so the quantity, the unit quantity. You will have the unit value. So be careful, unit value is not the price. Unit value here is just, gives you just a hint. It's computed using the quantity and the value. So it's basically the value divided by the quantity, where you will find the unit value. And then indicator regarding growth. As we said, there are several types of indicator. So here you will have indicator regarding the trends, let's say, on the specific exporters in terms of export of ginger to the world. And what if I want to know who are the main clients of Thailand, who are the main destination markets where Thailand is exporting ginger? Then you see that you have hyperlink for all the countries in here. So you have two choices. Either you go to the home search, or you even use the toolbar in here and you select the destination country of your preference, and then you will have the export of Thailand, the export of ginger from Thailand to the specific country, putting the Thailand and the partner. Or you can click in here directly on Thailand, and you will have the list of countries, of destination countries, where Thailand is actually exporting ginger. So let's try that. Still, to make sure you made the right decision and you made the right search, you read once again the title of your search, which is in here. So here we see that we have the list of importing markets for the product exported by Thailand, which is ginger. It means that we see all the countries where Thailand is currently exporting ginger, and we will have the different trade indicators for all of them. So as we could see in export potential map, we see that Pakistan is the main client of Thailand in terms of value when it comes to ginger, when it comes to exporting ginger. So it's the top one destination country for Thailand, with Japan and Indonesia. We saw, if you remember, we saw that the Netherlands was one of the countries with the highest export potential in terms of importing ginger. So it was where Thailand had the biggest room for improvement for its export of ginger. But we see that the actual export of Thailand to Netherlands for ginger are not that high compared to the top 5 countries. We will see then why is it like that. So at your disposal, you will have different trade indicators. As I said, in here, you see the value exporting by Thailand to Pakistan for ginger. You will see if, with the second column, if Thailand is a net importer or net exporter of ginger to Pakistan or to all the other countries listed in here. What is important is that, as you know, all the country listed in here are listed from the one importing the most from Thailand to the one exporting the least, right? But you will also have, with the trade indicator here, the performance of Thailand, or the performance of this country in terms of importation from Thailand. So there will be ranked from the one representing the most important part of Thailand export to the one representing the least important part. So it means this is the share of imports of Pakistan from Thailand in total export of Thailand. So Pakistan represent more than half of Thailand export of ginger in value. So this is the main destination market. More than half of Thailand export are going to Pakistan, basically, for ginger. Then you have the quantity. And what is important for your trade analysis, what you can take a look at is this indicator that we call market concentration, which is based on the Helfindal index. This gives you basically, for each market listed, the concentration of supplying countries in the partner country. What does it mean exactly? This means, for instance, in Pakistan, so when the number is close to 1, it means that the market is not highly concentrated. So there are a lot of different suppliers in Pakistan exporting ginger. And when it's close to 0, it means that the market is very, it's not really concentrated. So there are few exporters exporting ginger to Pakistan. Another thing that can give you a hint, which is a little bit special in here, if we still continue with this comparison, why Thailand is exporting ginger more to Pakistan than to the Netherlands, for instance, where it has a huge export potential. We see here that the average tariff applied by Netherlands to Thailand for ginger is 0. So there is basically no tariff for this, whereas for Pakistan is 16. So you might think why Thailand is still exporting more to Pakistan than to Netherlands. This is a question regarding market access. So if the tariff is not the reason why Thailand is exporting more to Pakistan than to the Netherlands, there might be another reason in terms of market access. And this is something we might be able to see and to understand better on market access map, more than on trade map. Okay. Are there any questions till now regarding trade map?
So I have a question from Huang Expo, and Huang has mentioned why the color is red for trade balance for China. So I explained it to Huang that this is because Thailand actually imported more than it exported ginger to China. So as you can see, Thailand exported $1.058 million to China, but the trade balance is negative by 6.017. So you do the math and you will see that this is why. Whereas for other countries, the number are in dark blue. This means Thailand actually export more than it import ginger to those countries. So that's the meaning of the trade balance. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And adding to this, if you remember, we saw on export potential map that one of the biggest competitor of Thailand for ginger, for exporting ginger, was China. China is actually exporting more ginger than Thailand to the rest of the world. So we can even see here with the balance, the trade balance, we can even see here that China is exporting also to Thailand this ginger, and China is exporting more ginger to Thailand than it's importing this ginger from Thailand. This is why we have this. An important trading indicator that you can look at also is the rank of the partner country in world imports. So you can also see, looking at the column, the performance of the countries listed in here in terms of import for the specific product. So it gives you also a hint about how important is this market for your product. What is the position of this market in the world imports for this product? So you can see that Pakistan is part of the top 3 countries importing ginger in the world, and the number 1 is United States of America. But now we're looking at the different countries listed here. We're thinking, why then Thailand is not focusing on United States of America, as it's the biggest market, because it gives you a hint about like the size of the market. Looking at this, so if we click on United States of America, we're gonna see the different competitors of Thailand for this product. So in here we see that as we saw before, Thailand is part of the top 10 countries exporting ginger to United States of America, but the one with the highest performance in terms of export of ginger is China. China has the biggest market share in United States than Thailand. This is why Thailand maybe in its strategy is focusing more on other countries where it has the biggest market share, such as Pakistan than we saw before. So in here, you see navigating within the table, you will be able to look at the different destination market, and in those different destination markets, you will also be able to look at the competitors on those markets, the position of your own country in terms of performance for exporting a specific product to those markets. All this, you will be able to see this navigating within the table of trade map. And the last thing I wanted to show you, so let's get back to the previous pages, is that for each country, for each destination country, for clients, when Thailand is exporting, where Thailand is exporting ginger, you might be able to, this is very important for companies, they might be able to find out which are the clients they can reach out in order to sell their product in those specific countries. So clicking on the hyperlink for each destination country, and then using the company module, you will have for each category of product, the list of companies importing in the destination country this product. So let's take a look at this. So for Pakistan, all the companies listed in here import ginger. So all those companies are Pakistanis and they import a Pakistani company and they're importing ginger. So potential clients for an exporters of ginger from Thailand. And you will have information regarding the size of the company, the number of product concerned by your research that this company is importing, the location of the company, and you will have company details as well, such as the number and everything to reach out to the company in order to negotiate or like start business with to do business with this company. This is what I really wanted to show you on Trade Map. If there are any other questions, I can answer them.
So far, there's no additional question, but I would like to refer to the fact that this code actually cover both crushed nor ground. Neither in this, what I'm talking about is the neither crushed nor ground. So we're actually talking about
Raw
fresh
ginger.
raw ginger, etc. So it's important to get the HS code right. And what we'll do in the next step is we start looking at market access conditions, and maybe at the national tariff line, there will be even further details regarding the product. Okay, so let's continue.
Yeah, thank you,
Just
Sam.
by the way, when you mentioned the
Yes.
ginger crush, you mean it's like a powdered ginger? This
Correct. This code is for fresh. This code is for fresh, but there are other code that is for crushed ginger. So if you are an exporter of crushed ginger, you will see that the trade data is different. The market access condition will be different, but the product in discussion right now is the fresh ginger.
If you take a look at this at the screen, for instance, here, you see the different category of ginger based on the HS classification. So if, for instance, what you're interested in is ginger powder or something like this, crushed ginger, you will have the code directly for this one, which is 091012. And if we look at this, then the analysis might be different. The destination markets might be different. Maybe Pakistan is not maybe Thailand is not performing as well as it's performing when exporting raw ginger. So this is something we can take a look at also quickly if you want. Let's take a quick look at this. Okay. 09, 10, 12. Exports. Okay, trade indicators. Then we don't want to see Pakistan, but it's in wrong. Oh, that's changed again. Okay, we want to see it's the country exporting them. So in here we see that still China is the top exporter for crushed ginger. So as well as it was for raw ginger. But then Thailand is not part of the top 5 country exporting this anymore. So crushed ginger is a little bit more, is more processed than the raw one. And we can see here that maybe Thailand is not performing as well as it does for raw ginger because it's not processing the ginger, but rather exporting raw ginger to the other countries. And in here, we can also see another pattern. Netherlands, which was one of the most important markets in terms of import for raw ginger, is one of the top export markets for crushed ginger. It means that Netherlands is maybe importing the raw ginger from Thailand or from other countries and then processing the ginger to export it. So looking at the different, let's say that this different step within a product, like if it's processed or not, you will also have a mapping of the value chain, looking at who is importing the raw product, who is processing the product, and who is importing the final product. Is this clear, or are there any questions regarding this? Okay. All right. So now let's take a look at the market access map. Just finish quickly with trade map. So after taking a look at the spotting opportunities, exploring export potential with the export potential map, then building the analysis with trade map in terms of choosing destination market, looking at your market share in those destination market, the market size, the performance of the importing countries or of your own country for the specific product. What can make the difference? What can make the difference is the market access. So if you remember, we had this example of Thailand exporting ginger to Pakistan more than to the other countries, while the other countries had the biggest export potential, and there was room for improvement in terms of export to those countries. So why is that like this? There might be a reason, and maybe this reason lies in market access. And we saw it wasn't regarding the tariff, so there might be another reason for this. This is where market access map can make the difference. I mean, you will have all information regarding market access. This tool basically improves transparency regarding regulatory requirements, but also tariffs. If you're interested in tariffs and if you want to have more details regarding this, this is the tool you need to use. So I really want to highlight the complementarities between those three tools and even the fourth one we're going to see after market access map, because all this will enable you to build your analysis when it comes to a specific product or group of product, or even to develop your export strategy regarding a specific destination market. So here is your homepage of MacMap. So what is market access map for? You will have really 4 different modules, 4 ways to use the website, 4 important categories. The first one is like all the information you're gonna have regarding market access, so basic information, tariffs, export and import requirements. You will have also information about trade remedies, or trade agreement. Then you will have the module to compare the access. So now you don't know which market is more accessible between a list of, I don't know, 5, the top 5 destination markets, and you want to know which one is more interesting, because maybe the potential is similar, but the market access, the condition might be different. So you look at this module, and the analyzing module is more to go more in depth in terms of analysis of this market access for all those countries. And the last one, if now you want to make your own computation, go further in your analysis, you will be able to download the data on request for specific product or group of products. But then let's also explain the definition of market access. So when we talk about market access for goods, it refers to all the conditions surrounding the access to a market when exporting or when importing your country. So it concerns the custom tariffs and also the non-tariff measures applied to those specific goods in the destination market. What do we mean by non-tariff measure? By non-tariff measure, we mean all those export requirements apply when importing a specific product, or all those import requirements as well. So market access finally cover custom tariffs, which are the basic, which is the basic principle. So what is the tariff am I gonna pay when exporting my my product to a specific destination country? So this is the first thing you're having a look at. But if the tariffs are similar between two countries, maybe you will also want to take a look at other market access conditions. So this cover trade remedies, rules of origin, regulations, also if you benefit from trade agreement or not, and export-import requirements, which are part of the non-tariff measures. So that's what you can see. And even within custom tariff, there are different types of tariffs. And you might have to compare maybe those different types of tariff between themselves because they're not from the same nature. This is something we're gonna see after. In terms of data availability, we have like the data on market access for more than 200 countries. We have also data regarding tariff quota, advarant equivalent that are computed in order to be able to compare tariff between themselves. We have also a lot of data regarding the trade agreements in place, in force between different countries in order to see which country from which trade agreement I can benefit when exporting my specific product, or from which trade agreement I can benefit from when importing a specific product. Information regarding trade remedies, import and export requirement, and also bilateral export and import value for a lot of different countries. The sources are slightly the same than before. So I would say that maybe for market access map, the focus is more in terms of sources, more middle international trade center sources, or ITC sources. So for custom tariff quota, trade remedies, trade data, we get it all from the ITC. So those come from the data we collect directly from national authorities, and that the market access map team is computing also and displaying on the market access map website. So they basically analyzing everything, checking the consistencies of the data before uploading them on the website. So this is like daily work that they're doing in an amazing way. We can just thank them for improving transparency on market access thanks to this tool. Then we also have like UNCTAD and WTO. UNCTAD for import and export requirements, as well as the ITC. We get, so all those NTMs are collected by UNCTAD, and ITC. And from the World Trade Organization, of course, we have the bond tariff, which are like the highest tariff that you can pay when exporting a specific product. So all the tariff you paying thanks to trade agreement and everything will be lower than those bond tariffs. So what's the main point of market access map? The main point of market access map is that with the basic research, you will have information regarding all types of market access conditions, all type of them. So information regarding, as you can see on the page, if for instance, I'm interested in ginger, one of the conditions to export my ginger to a specific market, I will have in one search information regarding the custom tariff apply when exporting my product to this specific market, information regarding the preferential treatment I can benefit from. So if there is any trade agreement I can benefit from when exporting my product, and that can make the tariff I'm gonna pay lower than usually. We're gonna also have information regarding trade remedies if the destination countries is a little bit trying to protect, let's say that its own economy regarding a specific product. So if there are some measures in place in order to protect the national companies exporting, selling the same product, and export-import requirement, which we call regulatory requirement, well known as non-tariff measures. All this in one search, as you can see in this screen in here, on the screenshot, but we're gonna see it more in depth when coming to the website after. So basic definition about custom tariff. So the tax you pay when you want to export your product, which is levied by the government. And as an importing country, I mean, as an exporting country, I'm gonna pay specific taxes when exporting my product to a destination market. It can be higher or lower depending on the country, depending on the trade agreement you're benefiting from. So then you have the difference between bond tariff and applied tariff. So the bond tariff that we collect from WTO, basically set up by WTO, is the maximum level of tariff you can basically pay if you're not benefiting from most favorite nation tariff, so MFN tariff. If you're not benefiting from also a trade agreement, this is the bond tariff you're gonna pay in general. Otherwise, you're paying the most favorite nation tariff for all the WTO member. This is the maximum tariff you will pay when exporting your product to a destination country. Of course, if you comply with the export and import requirement needed. Then you will have preferential tariffs if you benefit from a trade agreement with another country. So instance, if we take, for instance, the example of Thailand, which is a member state of the Asian trade agreement. So thanks to ASEAN, Thailand will be able to benefit from maybe a specific tariff when exporting ginger to all the Asian members countries. So then within tariffs, there are specificities. So we make the difference between ad valorem tariffs and non-ad valorem tariffs in general. So ad valorem tariffs are the tariffs that are directly linked to the value of the product you're exporting. So it will be a percentage directly of the value, and this represents the tariff you're gonna pay when exporting your product. Non-ad valorem tariff means that the tariff you're gonna pay is gonna be computed differently based on specificities. It can be a very specific tariff. So based on the quantity you're exporting, you will pay a specific tariff. It can be compound, so both ad valorem and non-ad valorem at the same time. So it can be specific tariff and an ad valorem tariff. It can be mixed. So mix will mix different types of tariffs. And this whole will make the tariff you're paying when exporting your product. And this can also be more technical. And last but not least, there are those tariff rate quota for the one who knows. So the principle is simple. There is something set up which is called a contingent. And if your country is exporting more than the contingent, you're gonna pay a specific tariff. And if exporting less, maybe you're gonna pay a classical ad valorem tariff. And the contingent would be basically the quantity you can export of this product to this specific country. Then there is different way of setting this tariff rate quota according to different rules. So it can be different configuration, different settings. But then after talking about all those different types of tariff that exist, the question is, how do we compare tariffs between themselves across countries? If I'm an exporter of ginger, if I'm Thailand, and I have like an ad valorem tariff, I have to pay an ad valorem tariff when exporting to Vietnam, but I have to pay a mixed tariff when exporting to France, for instance. How do I compare both of them? How do I evaluate the effect of tariff on the price? How do I check which one is more interesting than the other? This is where the ad valorem equivalent computed by ITC intervene. So with the ad valorem equivalent, which is not a tariff itself, it's a computation, an indicator somehow that will help you to compare, to put on the same level two different tariffs. So if it's one mixed, one non-ad valorem and one ad valorem, you will be able to compare themselves thanks to the ad valorem equivalent, which is computed the same way for all tariffs. So how does it work? Ad valorem equivalent, what you should keep in mind is that the ad valorem equivalent tariff is an estimate of a non-ad valorem tariff. So in order to put a non-ad valorem tariff at the same level as an ad valorem tariff, you will use the ad valorem equivalent. So here is the formula. So you will have the specific value divided by the unit value. And it will give you the ad valorem equivalent tariff. So this will help you in your comparison between two different markets in terms of market access. What tariff are you paying if you want to compare France with Vietnam, for instance? Having both ad valorem equivalent tariff will help you to compare them and easy your analysis. So let's go live once again. Let's give the same example. So ginger exporting, so raw ginger, if you remember, so neither crushed or ground, which is different from the processed one, like powder. So from Thailand to Netherlands still, because we wanted, if you remember, to understand why Thailand was exporting more to Pakistan than to Netherlands, whereas the export potential was huge when exporting ginger to Netherlands. So let's try to understand why. Let's go. Market access map. So going at macmap.org, you will arrive on this specific page. So here I'm interested in Thailand, which is the exporting country, exporting to the Netherlands, raw ginger. So 09, 10, 11. So you will need, of course, the HS code. As I said at the beginning of the session, the HS code is key to navigate into those ITC tools because it will help you to navigate easily. You can still use the national tariff line if you want, but in some countries, they might not use the same national tariff line as yours. So to stay on the same level, it's easier to use HS code, and this will be better for your research. Then if you have the same national tariff line code than another country, you can take a look, better look at it as well. So let's launch the search. So talking about the national tariff line code, by clicking here, you will see all the different national tariff line code existing for ginger. In here, there is just one for Netherlands that you can see. So as I said, in one search, you will be able to find all kind of market access information, starting with custom tariffs. So in here, when exporting ginger to the Netherlands, we see that the tariff applied is the MFN tariff. So the most favorite nation tariff applied for all the WTO member if they comply with the regulatory requirements, export-import requirement when exporting ginger to those countries. So in here, we see that the tariff is 0. So there is almost no tariff for Thailand when exporting to Netherlands. So we might think, why Thailand is not exporting more to Netherlands then? It's not because of trade remedies, because there is no trade remedies applied to the specific product. So maybe it's regulatory requirement. This is where we see that when exporting ginger from Thailand to the Netherlands, there are 46 import requirements which Thailand has to comply with in order to export ginger, which is kind of huge. And maybe companies are not exporting to the Netherlands because of those export requirements, maybe because they do not have the facilities to comply with those requirements or the finance to comply with those requirements. Maybe there is a lack in terms of certification to comply with those requirements. So we can take a look at any of those. For instance, you will have all those requirements classified based on the non-tariff measure classification. So which work with some chapters, right? Each chapter corresponds to a specific type of measure. I insist on type of measure because it's not a measure itself. It's a type of measure. And within each type of measure, you will find the measure applied. So if we look at labeling requirements, for instance, there are 6 different measures under the labeling requirement that apply to this product when exporting ginger specifically to the Netherlands from Thailand. So here, you click here to have more details. And what you will get is fantastic, is that you will get the name of the legislation concerned first by this requirement. an explanation about the legislation, the goal, the objective, from when it entered in force, and if there are other countries affected by the same legislation than yours. In here, we see that all the countries in the world exporting ginger to the Netherlands need to comply with this specific export requirement, because when you look at other countries affected, is the world, so all the countries. You might have a link to the regulation directly if you click in here. And there are some additional comments giving you explanation regarding this specific regulation. Where does it come? When, from which text it comes exactly? Maybe comment that will be key in order to understand this specific regulation and this specific requirement applied to ginger when exporting from Thailand to the Netherlands. So the same for each type of measure in here. So if you look at the first example, what does it say exactly? So all the companies exporting ginger to the EU, so as we know, Netherlands is part of the EU, they must submit their application to the competent body, which is dealing with the compliance of the companies of the product imported by the Netherlands from Thailand. And then Thailand might have to comply with specific requirements within this in order to export his product. Here is labeling requirements. So it can be, for instance, the fact that when you export your product, the name of the product might be written in English or might be written in the language of Netherlands. There might be other requirements. You might have like the composition of the product written on the label, etc., etc. So this is the first thing you can see using this basic search. And then all type of information like custom tariff, trade remedies, regulatory requirement, you can see them more in depth using their specific module in here on market access map. So if you want to have only information regarding custom tariff, you will click on the custom tariff module. Same for trade remedies and the same for export and import requirement. But you might find basically the same information that you find in the summary in here. So for a first search, I will advise you to go directly to the home page and try to look for every kind of market access information. Other important module is the compare module. With this module, you will be able to compare the different markets in terms of access when you're exporting your product. So from Thailand to the world, then 11 ginger. Okay, you have a table of comparison in here. So thanks to this, for each country in the world, you will have the tariff applied for your product when exporting your product to those countries. Maybe what would be interesting in here is that you can module these tables as you want. You can filter, sort it as you want based on the indicator you're interested in, the information you're interested in. I guess if you're looking at tariff, what would be interesting for your country or your specific country is looking at what is the effectively applied tariff for your product. So if you want to rank them from the highest one to the lowest, from the lowest one to the highest one, you click on this and you see that all those countries are the one where you can benefit from the lowest tariff. So a lot of them are concerned. If you want to look at other kind of information, for instance, the comparative advantage you have, you will look at the difference between the tariff applied by those countries to the rest of the world and the tariff applied to your specific country thanks to the trade agreement you're benefiting from. So this is the whole point of using the compare market tool. And I just wanted to give an answer to this question we had at the beginning regarding market access, why Thailand was exporting more to Pakistan than to the Netherlands. Let's take a look at what's happening with Pakistan. Okay. If you remember, we had 46 export and import requirements when it comes to the requirement applied to exports coming from Thailand to the Netherlands. What about Pakistan? If you remember, the tariff applied by Pakistan is higher than the one applied by the Netherlands, with a 16% tariff. So normally there might be no reason exporting to Pakistan when you know that the tariff you benefit from with Netherlands is lower. But what makes the difference in here is the number of export and import requirements applied by Pakistan to ginger coming from Thailand. You have only one measure to comply with. So I guess for companies, way easier to comply with just one measure than complying with 46 different measures when exporting your product. This is why, this gives the answer why maybe Thailand is exporting more to Pakistan than to the other countries. So does this answer your previous question from the export potential map? And are there any questions regarding the use of MapMap?
So there's no question regarding the use of MapMap. There was a few questions regarding the data updates. I've informed the participants that the tariff data is updated once a year, once the country submitted their latest data. So it's updated once a year, and there's a rotation of different updates throughout the year. So for example, we might start with the first batch and then second batch, third batch, etc. But it's once a year. Even though the country might update their tariffs during the course of the year, they would have to wait next year. This is because it's extremely time consuming for us to process this data. So we don't have the capacity to update the same country several times a year. But it happened very rarely that the tariffs is actually changed dramatically during the course of the year. In terms of the non-tariff measures, we work with different organizations, the African Development Bank, World Bank, UNCTAD, etc., to put in place the non-tariff measures data. Once it's updated, it will not be updated for another few years because it's a large number of data, and we don't do the update on non-tariff measures once a year. It will be a few years. However, what will happen next is that Adam will show you the final tool that allows you to see what are the incoming new measures for specific products or for specific countries, so that you can anticipate the change. So what you see on market access map is usually what's always in place: labeling requirement, the residues, the level of the residues, etc., the packaging. These are I would say, the conventional requirements, the measures that are in place since a long time. It doesn't normally dramatically change, but what you should do is use this final tool, which is called the e-ping, to anticipate the incoming change, or use it to lobby with the sector, trades association, etc., to stop it from actually being put in place. So I let Adam continue with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so let's continue. Okay. So before going to e-ping, I just wanted to talk about like a diagnostic that we finally doing in the traded market intelligence section. So maybe in order to understand what are the problems, we make this business survey on non-tariff measure, so on regulatory and procedural trade obstacles. If, for instance, we had taken the example of Netherlands, this would have explained maybe why why companies from Thailand are not exporting much to the Netherlands in detail. So apart from knowing what are the apart from knowing the fact that there are a lot of export and import requirements, we will know why is that complicated to comply with those requirements. Maybe it's not just because those requirements exist, because if they exist, maybe it's just to protect the people of the country, is to protect their health, to protect their security and everything. So maybe the problem might lie in another reason, and this reason can be maybe the procedures behind the compliance of this regulation. So we interviewed more than 1,736 companies in Vietnam in order to understand what are the obstacles the company face when exporting all the products. We did it for goods and for services, and we found out that more than half of the exporting company were facing obstacles regarding regulatory measures and regarding the procedure associated. So we did it in whole Vietnam, basically. And the key findings that we saw are the ones you can see in here, and two of them can be explained using the tool that I'm going to introduce to you right after. Those two are linked to transparency in regulation in force. So regarding the testing requirements, Vietnamese company just complains, explaining that they do not know where to find information regarding testing requirements, and that there is no transparency regarding those regulations, that they do not receive also guidance on how to comply with those regulations, and guidance regarding updates of the regulation applied by the partner countries when it comes to the specific product they were exporting or they are still exporting. So how to solve those issues? How to keep on track with regulatory changes, because even though you have everything to comply with the import and export requirement, they might change through time. Like with the time, they might change during the years. So how to know how to stay updated regarding this all the time? This is where it intervenes IPing, basically. So in here, before, you have examples of testimonies of companies explaining their troubles, their problems they were facing when exporting the specific product mentioned in here, like trousers, footwear, like lotus beans, dried lotus beans, etc. They explain why. And in the explanation, you can see information not available, for instance, regulation that change frequently, a lot of different reasons, basically. Lack of updated information available. All this can be solved because all this can be solved for TBT or SPS regulation, because IPing covers those two. Now I said the name. This is IPing. So the tool that we use to keep on track on regulatory measure, but only sanitary and phytosanitary measures, and TBT as well. So technical barrier to trade measures as well. Thanks to IPing, you will be able, for the product of your interest, to keep track on all those change, manage information, understand what are the new product requirements, get a notification anytime the product you're exporting to the market of your interest, anytime there is a change in the regulation and you need to comply with those new changes will be displayed to you on IPing. You will receive an email, you will receive a notification. So this is good if you're exporting a specific product, ginger, for instance, and you want to know what's happening in the world regarding the compliance of for this specific product when you're exporting it. IPing will help you. If I'm interested in a specific market and tomorrow I have a notification that the Netherlands apply a new requirement, or even Pakistan that do not apply that many requirements, if there are 3 new requirements, I will receive a notification on IPing saying like, yeah, there are 3 requirements regarding export of ginger to Pakistan. So going on ipingireland.org will enable you to find out all that. So as I said, so what is IPing? Anytime there is a change in SPS and TBT requirements, TBT measures, to stay up to date, you will use IPing. But IPing is not only this. EPING also enables to install this public-private dialogue regarding SPS and TBT notification. If something isn't clear, you will be able to talk with focal point on the platform that will explain you more about this new regulation, in force that will explain you about the objective of this new regulation, how to comply with. You can use EPING for this as well. Here is an example. So if you remember, those are part of this was the object of one of the testimonies regarding Japonica rice exported by Vietnam to EU. And this is an example of a new regulation that popped up basically from EU regarding Japonica rice. So you receive such a notification when you go to EPING explaining the reason of, the objective, the raison d'être of the notification, the product covered by this new regulation. So with the HS code, here you have the chance because you have directly the subchapter, not even the subheading. So with the subchapter, you just know all the product cover under this. The objective of this regulation, always you will have the objective of the regulation because any regulation, SPS TBT regulation, pursues a specific objective. And in here, something we added is like the testimony of the company explaining why it was complicated to comply with the regulation in question. So this is the value added of EPING, one interface to have information regarding SPS and TBT regulation. You will be alerted always regarding new regulation coming on the specific product of your interest. You will be able to choose what are the products of your interest by registering of the website, but I'm going to show this during the demo. So the main goal of EPING is to increase compliance with transparency obligation, to increase compliance regarding SPS and TBT regulation, and for a company that want to stay up to date all the time with the new regulation coming here and there and compare different market access between different countries, EPING would be a fantastic complement to market access map and to the other ITC market analysis tool that we've seen before. Let me now start the demo of EPING. So the timing is perfect because since yesterday, EPING has changed a little bit the face of the website, the display of the website. It's a little bit different than it was before. So as you can see, let me show you a little bit the features of EPING. So if I want to know what are the new notifications regarding still ginger in general, and I'm an exporter from Thailand, I want to know the notification concerning my product. I will go to search notification. Then I will directly go here and write the HS code of my product to understand, to see all the notification issued by the other countries regarding SPS or TBT measure, new SPS or TBT measure applied to my specific product or my specific group of product. I want to take a look, of course, same ginger. So you have here the group of products. So I can either type my product, the entire code, or just go category by category. I know it's 09, well, that's 010, ginger. Here it is. You remember that this is ginger, neither crushed or nor ground. So it's not powder, it's raw ginger, not processed. I click on this, and then I have the choice. Maybe I just want to know the notification issued by the certain group of countries, a region, or specific country, or maybe I just want to see all the notification. Also, maybe I just want to take a look at SPS notification, or just TBT. In such case, I will click on SPS only or TBT only. Other thing, in terms of notification, there are different types of notification. Maybe I'm just interested in what we call addendum. So after regulation has been issued, a regulatory requirement has been issued, maybe there might be some changes in the same law. Then we will have an addendum, which means another text explaining the law with the new features that are adding to the specific law. So looking at the notification type, I can check if I just want the classic one or if I want addendum. if I want a regulation regarding emergency situation, etc. Let's take a look at something maybe broader. So in here, after starting my search, so the search is automatic. Anytime you select something in here, you will have an update about you based on your selection. So you have 4 important columns in here. The first one is the notifying member. So basically the country applying the regulation notified. In here is Japan. The latest one is from Japan. It was actually almost 10 days ago, something like this. And this is a revision of specifications and standard for foods. So apparently my product is concerned by this specific regulation. So if I wanted to export to Japan, I would have I had like an account on Epping, I would have received a notification telling me, like, yeah, Japan issued a new regulation for my product. So I would have loved to take a look at it in order to understand and mostly to anticipate what will come in the future and take some measure in order to be able to comply with this new regulation coming. So when you receive the notification, it gives you the time to anticipate for the future and adapt your production and your production process in order to comply with the new regulation. If I remember, I'm interested in exporting my product to Netherlands, which is part of the European Union. And I see that the latest notification issued by European Union was an addendum on January 14, 2022. And my product is concerned by the addendum because when I launched the research, I put my HS code and this notification just appeared. So my product is concerned. If you click on it, you will have this text because Epping is a collaboration of ITC, WTO, and United Nations. And thanks to this, you will have a basic text explaining the notification. So it's kind of a translation of the notification. Whatever was the original language of the notification, you will have this simple sheet explaining objectives, explaining what are the products covered by the notification, le raison d'être, since when the notification has been issued and the regulation is, when will be the regulation enforced, etc., etc. And also, you will have a focal point to contact or institution to contact in order to have more information regarding this regulation. You will have information in here to contact them. In here, you can contact the European Commission if you don't understand the regulation. Or on Epping, you will be able also to contact focal points allocated for each country, and that will be able to answer all your questions regarding the notifications. So all this to install this public-private dialogue. Yes, so this is an addendum, as I told you, but there is like the notification itself in here. So you will have the product concerned by the notification. Here is the list of subchapter, or sometimes even subheading for specific product concerned by the notification. First, you have the notifying member, but this you could see it also in the column, so which is European Union. The agency responsible of this notification. So in here, it's Health and Food Safety Directorate General. The countries concerned by the notification. In here, you can see that Thailand is not part of this list, right? So this notification do not really concern Thailand. And you will have like the objectives of the notification lower in here. So as you have the cross in here, then this notification is in order to protect the consumer. So it's for food safety. But all those information are summed up into the different columns you have in here, where you have the notifying member, you have the type of notification, you have the date, the product covered, and you can even start a dialogue going to the form, clicking in here. So those are the main features you need to know about Epping. Are there any questions regarding ePing?
So far, no question regarding ePing. I'm wondering if you would like to show the Vietnamese participants just very quickly, just to show them that it exists, the Vietnamese version, perhaps.
Yes. So since April 2021, we have this Vietnamese version of ePing. Let me show you that. I think in the new version of ePing, because they updated the website, they did not upload yet the Vietnamese version. So for now, we just have English, French, and Spanish, because as I said before, they change a little bit the interface of ePing, but very soon the Vietnamese version of ePing will come back. But for all other languages, you can have ePing in French, in Spanish, and very soon it will come back in Vietnamese.
Right, so that's just to be, so for the Vietnamese participants, stay tuned and maybe we can notify you or you can follow us on the social media in order for us to, publish the tweet informing you that the Vietnamese version is now back online, etc. But I also always think it's a plus once the Saksha tool is available in your native language, of course. Okay, so maybe we hand it over to Miguel for the closing remarks from our side. It's been a pleasure having you with us, and thank you for all the questions that you have submitted. I know that it's quite fast, it's 2 hours. We went through 4 tools in total, but don't forget that there's a recording that you can consult. We'll send you the PowerPoint presentation in a PDF format so that you can always use it as a reference. And if there's any additional questions, don't hesitate to send an email to us. It's called marketanalysis@intrasend.org. This is the email address where we have a team who answers to your incoming question within 48 hours. I will leave with the email address that you have. The email address to write to us, and don't forget that the tools at the first glance it can be very overwhelming. You just have to start using it, go through it, and if you have a question, write to us. You can only learn and really become proficient by doing. Today it's just an introduction for you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much, Adam. It has been a very interesting, stimulating, and informative session. I'm pretty sure that everybody will agree with this. Just FYI, a little bit of housekeeping. I have included in the chat box a link to a form for you to spend no more than 2 minutes evaluating today's session. I have sent through to Helvetus country managers the evaluation session for yesterday via email. So please make sure that you fill that in too. All of these forms are ridiculously easy to click through. It really will take you 2 minutes at most. It's very simple. In any case, as Sam has said, and as I've mentioned yesterday, we will be sharing the recordings and the PowerPoint presentations. And of course, access to the tools is free of charge. That is something that you need to be aware of. Access to these tools is completely free of charge and will continue being free of charge within the foreseeable future. So by all means, go on these websites, go and get familiar with the analysis and with the information available, and consider what you can do with these tools to deliver value to your members. I have conducted for ITC and other organizations workshops on how to prepare market profiles and reports using these tools in more than 30 countries, and I can tell you the results are always very, very interesting. Now, as a closing as a closing session, first, I have to thank you all, but can I please ask you to, as we did yesterday, turn on your cameras for us for a couple of minutes so I can take a small picture and we can see your smiling faces just for the goodbye. You know, it's always good to show that we're all here and that we've been going through the session and enjoying the contents and learning from what Adam and Sam have presented to us. Still a couple more faces missing. Okay, great. In that case, please all look up and say cheese. Great, excellent. Thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you very much.